Y'all, I am so excited about this episode. We are going to talk about cold and flu season and ways that you can reduce your risk of getting colds or the flu. And then if you do end up coming down with them, we're going to talk about what you can do to reduce the number of days that you're sick and to decrease the severity of the illness. So let's not waste any time. You're going to want to grab a notebook and a pen because there's going to be tons of information for you here. So be ready. You're about to learn so much. So I'm so excited about this episode because it is so timely. It seems like everybody is sick right now. I almost hesitate to say this in case any of the ladies in this text group are listening. If you are, forgive me, but I'm in a text group that was talking about how 'tis the season for people to be sick and it's the season to alternate Tylenol and ibuprofen. And I just died a little bit inside when I heard that because I just know the damage that these medications can do. I know how they completely undermine the immune system's ability to do what God made it to do. And so I decided I needed to do an episode right now on this topic because so many of you I know are dealing with it either for yourself or for your kids. So I'm not going to waste any time. There's going to be a ton of stuff here. So like I said in the intro, you're going to need a pen and paper. You might need to slow this down. You might need to listen more than once. Whatever you need to do is fine, but get ready, buckle your seatbelt. I'm going to give you so much goodness to help you get through this cold and flu season without having to run to the doctor, most likely without having to take medications that you don't really want to take. Okay, let's go. Now, first thing we got to think about is we have to get our bodies in good health in general so that in doing so, we will reduce our risk of getting sick to start with. That comes from a whole body perspective. We have to address gut health because something like 60% of our immune system lives in our gut. So you've got to have good, strong gut health. Hormones, stress responses, like are you constantly stressed? Are you living in fight or flight mode? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting nutrition, micronutrients in your regular day-to-day diets? Like, are you eating an inflammatory diet to where you're getting junk all the time? Or are you feeding your body's cells well so that they are powerfully able to put an immune response in place when it's needed quickly so you don't get sick? If you're not doing those things, none of these other supplements are really going to make a difference. You have to really focus on your lifestyle. That's what we talk about in my one-on-one coaching with moms. That's what I do all the time is we look at top to bottom lifestyle to get out all the things that are potentially making our bodies not able to function the way God made them to function, and to put in the things that we need to be strong. We're going to talk about some of the things we put in to be strong in this episode, but I just want you to understand that you need to be feeding your body well on a day-to-day basis. And I know that's hard to sometimes know what that even means. I know it's hard to know how to start, where to start, and that's why I do coaching. So as we go through this episode, if you're like, wow, I need somebody to walk with me through this, that is what I do. I would invite you to apply. Links are in the description as always. That's not what this is about, but I just want you to know there are resources out there. You don't have to do this alone. Okay. So functional medicine, which is what I am practicing from a position of, really looks at making sure, again, that the terrain of your body is healthy, that you are overall well, and that your internal environment is in a situation to where it can deal with the insults that are thrown its way from the world. So the viruses don't always just automatically take hold, or bacteria don't always just make you sick. We are making our body be in a position to deal with life without getting sick all the time. But I want you to understand that acute illness is not necessarily a failure. Every time we get sick, we are training our immune system and we're making our immune system stronger when we deal with the illness correctly. Fever, for example, is purposeful. It enhances immune reaction and it slows viral replication. So this idea of alternating Tylenol and ibuprofen to treat a fever, just because the fever exists, is actually undermining our system to where it's not able to work as well as God intended it to. That fever is there for a purpose, and it trains the immune system to get busy. It tells the immune system it's time to do your job. mucus, cough, fatigue, all of these things are actually parts of the immune processes at work. The reason you have no energy to do anything is because all of your energy is going into fighting the illness. The mucus and the coughing are all formulating themselves because they are helping your body to get rid of the things that need to not be there. So when we suppress symptoms and just look at the symptoms and not the underlying cause, we are lengthening our illnesses. Let me repeat that. When we take away the fever, or when we try to get rid of the cough, or when we try to get rid of the mucus, only for those things, rather than treating the underlying terrain and making sure that our bodies are well and the full immune system is able to do its job. When we just look at the symptoms and we just say, I've got to get this out of me, I'm so miserable, I've got to get rid of this fever, or I've got to get rid of this cough, and we don't actually deal with the underlying problem, we are actually making the illness last longer. Okay? So what we need to do is to work on some prevention stuff. And we're going to look at building our immunity so that we can prevent these things from happening. And then also we're going to look at what to do when or if illness does set in. Why does this even matter? Well, food and the things that we eat are information to the immune system. What you eat directly influences your inflammation levels, your gut lining, the integrity of your gut, hormone balance, micronutrient stores, all of these things that determine how well your body handles viruses. Functional medicine practitioners, as I'm training to become, as if I haven't shared with you all, I am in a functional medicine training course for women right now. The way we look at things and the way we teach is that you can't just supplement yourself out of a nutritionally poor diet. You have to feed your cells well so that they can function well. The immune system relies on real food inputs day by day, every day. So let's go through the breakdown of the nutrients that you really need to be getting in order to have an intact immune system and a strong body to be able to deal with whatever immune system insults come along. Thing one, top of the list, is sleep. And I know you're like, yeah, get to the point. No, sleep is so important. Just one night of your sleep being cut short raises your susceptibility to viruses. You need to be aiming for 7 to 9 hours and with consistent rhythms, because melatonin increases cytokine efficiency, and cytokines are part of your immune system that fights off illness. If you're having trouble with sleep, again, this is something that I deal with in our coaching with my clients, because sleep is so essential. And so often there are things that we are doing in our lifestyles that are undermining our sleep. And so we deal with that in coaching all the time. Number two is blood sugar regulation. Another thing we deal with in coaching. Sugar is a big depressant of our immune activity, and it lasts for several hours after consumption. It also feeds illness. So, and when I say sugar, I don't just mean like you're eating just pure sugar, but things that are simple carbs that break down quickly into sugar, empty carbs, that kind of thing, not whole, real foods. These things feed illness. But stable glucose leads to stable immune function because it avoids inflammatory spikes. So it's very important to learn about your blood sugar, to learn if you are insulin resistant, and to learn how to manage that to strengthen your immune system to its full capability. Number three, you need to be getting nutrient-dense foods and anti-inflammatory foods as pretty much the only component of your diet. All the inflammatory foods need to be cut out, and they're all the things that you probably know are bad for you. You need to get plenty of protein. You need to be getting good, healthy fats, lots of colorful, that word is hard for me, colorful phytonutrients coming from plant bases that are lots of different pretty colors, because those different colors have different nutrients. You need to focus on mineral-rich foods and daily immune supportive nutrients. Now, your body can do more with real food than it can do with supplements. However, we live in a world where our food is not as nutrient rich as it used to be, especially if you're buying just from conventional grocery stores and things like that. So I'm going to go through some different vitamins and minerals that you need to make sure you're getting plenty of. I'm going to give you some natural sources for those foods, and then also some recommendations about supplementing if you need to. All right, thing one, vitamin C, not a surprise. I know you know that. Vitamin C is not something your body can naturally make on its own. And so it is something that you must make sure you are getting daily. Your white blood cells accumulate high concentrations of vitamin C to be able to function properly. And vitamin C neutralizes oxidative stress, which increases during infection. So some of the ways you can get that is through citrus, like oranges, lemons, limes, things like that. Peppers, like bell peppers, broccoli, berries, kiwi, and potatoes. The way that vitamin C supports immunity is that it enhances the white blood cell effectiveness. It supports production of interferons and which are antiviral signaling proteins. It improves barrier function of skin and mucous membranes. It helps shorten illness duration in clinical research. It enhances phagocytosis, which is the process that your body goes through where it basically eats or engulfs and eats the bad cells, the pathogens, the things that need to go. And it helps regenerate other antioxidants like vitamin E. So a good kind of rule of thumb for this is to eat the rainbow. Be sure you're eating lots and lots of different colors, emphasizing vitamin C foods every day. If you're going to supplement, most practitioners would recommend somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000 milligrams per day to prevent illness. If you have a flu, cold, whatever coming on, you can feel it coming, you can increase that pretty significantly without any bad effects, and sometimes really knock out that illness quickly. So, for instance, we in our household had the flu go through, or what I think was the flu last week through my son. He was the only one that got it. All the rest of us didn't, because as soon as we saw it happening, we started doing high dose vitamin C. I was taking, I don't know the milligrams exactly. I want to say it's 1,000 milligrams in one thing, 2 pills a day, and then in another source as well. So I was probably getting somewhere around 5,000 milligrams a day to make sure that I didn't get sick. And something worked. I actually felt like I was coming down with it on about day 3 of his illness. And I took a huge dose of vitamin C. I want to say I took around, I'm not going to say a number, because if I say it wrong and then you all take it and you're going to get mad at me. So I'm not going to say a number, but it was a high dose. And I drank several herbal teas. I took zinc, which we're going to talk about. I took NAC, which we're going to talk about, and elderberry, and it stopped in its tracks and reversed. And so all I can say is that God is amazing, and the way that He made our bodies to heal is amazing when we give our bodies what we need. I know I digressed just a little bit. Let me get back on track to go through all these things, but I just want you to know these things actually really can work. Next thing is zinc-rich foods. You get zinc from things like beef, oysters, pumpkin seeds, lentils, cashews, dark meat chicken. Your body needs it because it's required for development and function of immune cells. Zinc is required for over 300 enzymatic reactions, which are involved in immune signaling. It is essential for development and function of white blood cells. So if you don't have enough zinc, you're not going to have enough white blood cells, which are the big powerhouses of your immune system. So zinc deficiency reduces the body's ability to fight viruses early. It inhibits viral replication, which means the viruses being able to make more of themselves. It strengthens mucosal immunity in the throat and sinuses. And the lozenges, zinc lozenges, allow the throat and the oral mucosa, the skin on the inside of your mouth, to be coated with zinc, which is where viruses replicate early. So that's a good source for you to get your zinc from. It also reduces the duration of colds when adequate levels are present. So food first is obviously ideal, but supplements can fill the gaps if needed. And so you can take 10 to 30 milligrams per day during high exposure seasons like now to prevent getting sick. Next thing, vitamin A rich foods. Vitamin A is rich in liver, and that if you don't like liver, we talk about beef organ capsules here a lot. Beef organs are a good source, or the capsules are a good source to get that. So liver, egg yolks, butter from pasture-raised cows, carrots, sweet potatoes, squash, and dark leafy vegetables or dark leafy greens. Vitamin A contains vitamin A maintains epithelial integrity, which is the integrity of your skin, and it's a first line defense where viruses enter. And when I say skin, I mean the skin on the inside of your mucosa and on the outside of your skin. Vitamin A is critical for development of immune cells like T and B lymphocytes. It prevents leaky mucous membranes, making it harder for viruses to penetrate to get inside your body to start with. And it enhances antibody responses, and it supports the healing of respiratory tissue. So you want to really focus on getting vitamin A. I really tend to recommend vitamin A to only come from your foods because there is a concern with toxicity when you're only getting it from supplements, but there's so many good sources there that I know most of you are probably already taking or eating, like egg yolks, that we'll just leave it at that for that one. I'm not going to give you specific recommendations necessarily for the supplement. Most multivitamins, the multivitamins that I recommend in my Full Script account, which you're welcome to go peruse. I will also have this in there, by the way. I'll have this protocol there so you can get all of these things in one spot at a discount. But the multivitamin that I recommend does have vitamin A in it in a safe amount. Next, vitamin D supporting foods. Vitamin D, you can get from the sun, but we're in the winter where pretty much everywhere in America, you're not going to get enough sun to maintain your vitamin D at this time of year. And most people don't anyway, because they're always wearing sunscreen, which is a whole other problem we won't get into here. But I will say that just about no matter where you live, you need a vitamin D supplement right now. Sources are sardines, salmon, eggs again, and raw milk is where you can get it. I hope that you can get it. Your body needs vitamin D mainly from the mainly from the sun, but also from the food. Food is usually not the main source of vitamin D, but this time of year, you really need to up your vitamin D sources because it's just not a time that you can get very much vitamin D outside. Vitamin D functions more like a hormone than a vitamin. It regulates over 200 genes involved in immune defense, not to mention it plays a role in things like fertility and lots of other essential functions of your life. You need plenty of vitamin D. Immune cells require vitamin D to be able to activate themselves properly, and low vitamin D correlates with the dramatically increased susceptibility to respiratory viruses. It modulates your immune response and helps prevent overactive inflammation. It enhances your innate immunity by boosting frontline defenses the moment of the virus first enters your body. It modulates inflammation, which prevents excessive cytokine response, which keeps it from overreacting basically. It improves the epithelial barrier, that's a hard word, epithelial barrier function, and which strengthens the skin and the mucosal linings where viruses enter, kind of related to the vitamin A like we said a minute ago. And it shortens the duration of viral illnesses in several studies. You cannot have a functioning, strong immune system if your vitamin D is low. So your optimal functional range is 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. I would say that I don't think there is one client that I have worked with one-on-one who has had even close to that. So it is very common for that to be deficient. So it is very important for you to be supplementing with somewhere around at least 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams or IUs, I can't remember if it's milligrams or IUs, of vitamin D every day, preferably first thing in the morning, because you want to take it in line with when you would be getting the sun. You don't want to take it last thing of the day. You want to take it first thing in the morning. Okay, quercetin rich foods. Quercetin comes in apples, onions, capers, green tea, and berries. It is a flavonoid with anti-inflammatory and antiviral properties, and it helps to regulate mast cells and a histamine response, which is where you're kind of having that snotty allergic reaction to where you're just kind of like feeling the sickness coming on. It functions as a zinc ionophore, which means it helps to take the zinc and move it into the cells. It reduces upper respiratory inflammation, and it supports antioxidant defenses. I personally believe that quercetin is something that most people need to be using year-round. If it's used early, especially with vitamin C, it usually will decrease the length of your illness. So keep quercetin around. My vitamin C supplement that I was using actually had quercetin in it, so it was perfect. Next, omega-3 rich foods. You get omega-3s in salmon, sardines, mackerel, walnuts, flaxseed, and chia seeds. I personally get my omega-3s through a cod liver oil supplement, which I do have linked in my Fullscript account. You're welcome to go over there and check it out. It tastes great, and it will give you all of your omega-3s that you need for the day. You need it to regulate your inflammation pathways, and most Americans have a skewed ratio. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. A skewed ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s. We have way too many omega-3s and way too many omega-6s, which come from inflammatory fats and things like that, and not enough omega-3s, which leads us into an inflammatory state. When you increase the omega-3s, you fix that ratio, and it helps to prevent excessive inflammation responses during illness. It also supports cell membrane fluidity, and it improves immune cell communication, which basically means your immune system is able to communicate with the rest of your body well and to put this fight up that it needs to do. Next, I didn't talk about dosage for that, but that is all also on my Fullscript account with the cod liver oil, because that's really the main place that I would recommend you get any kind of supplementation of omega-3s. Next, you really need to focus on getting plenty of amino acid rich foods, which come from proteins, especially from proteins. Your sources are things like eggs, poultry, beef, fish, beans, lentils, Greek yogurt, and collagen rich broths. So your immune cells require amino acids for repair and replication. Replication is where the cells are making more cells. Maybe you remember that from biology class when you were in school. But that's immune cells have to have those amino acids to be able to do that. So amino acids support the production of IgA, which is an immune globulin A antibody in respiratory mucosa. Basically, what that says is that's essential for that part of the respiratory system that is fighting off anything that it's coming into contact with. It also is essential amino acids are essential because they help maintain muscle mass, which are metabolically important for immune resilience, to fight insulin resistance, which puts you in a state that makes you more likely to have inflammation and get sick. So you want to emphasize getting lots of protein at every single meal to keep your blood sugar stabilized and to give your body these elements that it needs for immune system function. Next, you need to focus on mineral-rich foods. Minerals are found in things like bone broths, leafy greens, sea salt, coconut water, nuts, and seeds. Your body needs them because sodium, potassium, and magnesium are needed for lymphatic flow and fluid balance. That's the flow of the fluids through the lymph nodes in the lymph system. They support immunity because they help transport immune cells through the lymphatic system, which is connecting everything together, which is where it's helping get things cleared out. Okay. It also supports energy production during illness. And we all know when you're sick, you need energy. It's hard to do much of anything. So it will support that. Hydration and minerals is one of the first recommendations for you to increase when sickness sets in. So prevention obviously lends itself to know that having hydration and minerals is going to be one of the things you want to do both for prevention and for treatment. Next, polyphenol-rich foods. Polyphenol-rich foods means colorful foods. So as I said earlier, that eat the rainbow, berries, peppers, pomegranates, red cabbage, green tea, dark chocolate, all of these things. Polyphenols are antioxidants that reduce oxidative stress and modulate inflammation. That means kind of control inflammation. They support immunity because they protect immune cells. They reduce viral binding and replication. Again, that replication word means where the virus is making more of itself. They support gut microbiome diversity as well. So always focus on, in the vegetables and the fruits that you're getting, focus on eating the rainbow, because that food that you're getting with all these different colors is the foundation of your immune function. All right, next, some culinary antivirals, things that you will eat in your food to season it that also help fight sickness. Sorry, almost said infection. That wasn't really the word I was going for. To help fight sickness. Things like garlic, ginger, and turmeric. These foods contain natural compounds that calm inflammation and support immune defense. Garlic has allicin in it, allicin, not like the person's name, Allison. Allicin is antiviral and antibacterial. That compound, allicin, is a sulfur compound that has antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal activity, and it supports detox pathways and immune cell activity. It's good for, again, inhibiting viral replication. It supports healthy gut flora. Flora is the naturally occurring bacteria, so it supports those naturally healthy bacteria that live in your gut. It thins mucus and supports respiratory function, and it's excellent for both prevention and early stage illness. Ginger is anti-inflammatory and it supports circulation, and turmeric it has curcumin in it, which curcumin reduces cytokine overactivity, as we mentioned earlier. I strongly recommend 1 to 2 cloves of garlic daily during high-risk seasons like now. You can put it anywhere in your cooked foods that you're eating. Some people like to put them in smoothies if the flavor isn't too much, but having that natural presence of these things really will help your body be able to fight off infection when it comes. I also will like to put things like turmeric just in other foods. Like I'll sneak turmeric into things like spaghetti sauce and things like that, because you cannot taste it and you don't see that it's there, but you're still getting the benefits. I put it in chili and things like that as well. So you can put it in lots of different places like that. So just think about getting garlic, ginger, and turmeric. Oh, ginger, I didn't mention that. You can buy ginger in the root, or you can buy it as a seasoning. I like to put ginger on top of my salads. I'll just kind of shred it up and put it on top of salads. So that's an idea of a way to get that in. Another thing that you need lots of is probiotics and fermented foods. Your gut houses 70%, 60 to 70% of your immune system. Okay. Beneficial bacteria influence the activity of your immune system all over your body, your mucosal immunity, your inflammation regulation, and your pathogen defenses. Dysbiosis means that the balance is off in your gut. It weakens the immune system and it increases your susceptibility to getting sick. So probiotics and fermented foods strengthen the gut barrier. They tighten the tight junctions so that any leakiness or things like that are reduced. They reduce this, which then reduces systemic inflammation. They increase the production of secretory IgA, which is a critical antibody that guards respiratory and digestive mucosa. Interestingly enough, you know what else increases that SIgA? Laughter. Laughing increases SIgA. So not only do you need these things, you need some laughter and some levity in your life. So keep that in mind. Probiotics and fermented foods also help reduce the frequency and severity of viral illnesses, and they enhance nutrient absorption, including zinc and magnesium, which are both essential. So you can get these from fermented foods like sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt, kimchi, or miso, or you can get them in supplement form if you don't eat those types of foods, and you can find those in my full script account, which is always linked on my resources page as well as in the show notes. All right, next, elderberry. Elderberry, and I know this list is long. I know it's a lot of stuff, okay, but I promise you're going to be glad you have this, so just stick with me. Elderberry is rich in anthocyanins. That's a hard one to say. Anthocyanins, which are potent antioxidants that support immune signaling. It has natural antiviral compounds that block viruses from attaching to and entering cells. It's shown to reduce the duration and severity of influenza-like illnesses. In one study I read about, compared to placebo, it shortened viral illness time 4 days. That's significant. So keep that in mind. It supports mucosal immunity. It helps modulate inflammation without suppressing the immune response. Remember earlier I mentioned the downsides of medication. See, some of those medications, yes, they will modulate your inflammation. They'll decrease your inflammation, but they also suppress your immune response. This will not do that. You'll keep both intact. It's also excellent for early stage cold and flu support. Probably the best way to get elderberry syrup is through, I gave away the punchline, right? The best way to get elderberry is through elderberry syrup. You can buy it. I actually make my own. It's not hard at all to make. So that's one option. You can also use elderberry tea or elderberry tincture. So those are just some ways that you can get it. Okay. Next, echinacea. Echinacea stimulates that word I said before, phagocytosis, which is the engulfing of the pathogens by the immune system that then allows your body to process them out. It supports production of interferons, again, which are those antiviral signaling proteins. It's best used at the onset of symptoms, not as a daily, all-season preventative. So echinacea is just one of those that you want to keep on hand for when that illness hits, and then take it early, as soon as you get that onset of symptoms. That's one of the things that was in the teas that I took that day that I somehow made the flu stop in its tracks in my body. It can decrease the viral load early in infection. It helps reduce progression and severity of common colds. So it also it pairs well with elderberry. I did have a tea here that I could have shown you, but I don't see it now. But I have a tea from, I believe you call it Puka, Pukka. I'll try to remember to link it below. But it has elderberry and echinacea together in it, and that is an organic tea. So I'll try to remember, like I said, to link that below. Next, astragalus. And astragalus is really just for prevention only. It's not so much for treatment. It is an adaptogenic herb that has been used for thousands of years in traditional Chinese medicine, and it supports immune modulation, especially during chronic stress. It helps prevent viral infections through immune strengthening, not stimulation. It enhances white blood cell production. It supports adrenal resilience, which is important because stress suppresses immunity. And it has mild antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties, So this is ideal for long-term strengthening, especially in people who have run down immune systems already or in high exposure seasons, again, like now. All right, changing tracks a little bit. Sorry, completely lost the word I wanted to say. But just let's take a little bit of a shift here and let's look real quick at the stress and nervous system regulation of immunity, because chronic stress decreases secretory IgA and mucosal immunity. So, earlier I said that one of the things that increases SIgA is laughter. Well, the opposite of laughter is being stressed out, right? Not even being able to laugh because you're so stressed. So it makes sense that if laughter will increase it, then stress will decrease it. So you really need to realize the immense impact of being overstressed. And not even necessarily like I'm so stressed out from life, but subconscious physiological stress from worrying or pushing yourself too hard or trying to do too much, and the things that does to your nervous system and how that then impacts your inability to fight anything off, and it also impacts your insulin resistance. So what are some things you can do to regulate your stress in your nervous system? You can regularly incorporate things like breath work, really working on slowing your breathing down, prayer, scripture meditation. Being in nature is a great way, and it's a scientifically backed way to regulate your immune system. And limiting the constant onslaught of news and social media input. Those things keep us on or in fight or flight all the time. So regulate that, minimize it. Okay. Some other things that you can do that are free, that you don't have to go buy anything. I know the stress response we just talked about, it doesn't cost you anything. Hot to cold showers. Hot to cold showers, meaning you take your regular shower at your regular temperature of hot water like you like, but then the last 30 to 60 seconds of your shower, you turn it to cold. A study showed that people who do that one practice reduced their sick days of having to miss work by 29% from things like the flu. So that might be something to incorporate into your day-to-day routine. Also, salt water gargles or salt water in a neti pot. So salt water pulls fluid out of inflamed tissues, which reduces pain and makes swelling less, which then will make breathing easier when we're talking about in our nasal passages. And so when you do a salt water gargle, you're putting that salt water right there on the tissue where the pain and the inflammation might be if you're dealing with a sore throat. If you have a cold or the flu and you're dealing with, all the snot and all the congestion and not being able to breathe in your nose, the neti pot will flush that out. I love neti pots. And if you will do those, especially if you've been exposed to something but you're not sick yet, or on the first sign of being sick, you will keep those passages flushed out. It will keep the viral replication from being quite so much, and it can shorten your illness. Okay, so now let's shift into talking about what do you need to do if the symptoms start. So when your symptoms start, what do you do in that first 24 to 48 hours? First, slow down. Support your body. Don't fight against it. Don't push through. Don't keep going at 150% of your maximum. Slow down. Okay? Rest is the most underrated immune therapy. You've got to give your body the chance to fight this off, and you can only do that well by resting. Reduce your work, cancel all the extras. Your immune activity requires massive energy, and you have to give your body space to be able to do what it needs to do. Kick in nutritional support. Get bone broths, citrus, berries, garlic and ginger, warm herbal teas, reduce sugar and dairy, if it's conventional dairy, that is, immediately. Cut sugar out. You don't want to feed this illness. You want to get better. So cut all those things out and add the first things, cut out the last things. All right, key supplements to increase when you feel that sickness coming. These are the things that I did. This is what stopped my illness in its tracks just last week. And I thank God that he put these things in my head, because it's like I know these things, and sometimes even though I know them, I forget them. And it almost got me. And then I got to where I was sitting down. Me and my girls were decorating our house for Christmas, and I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I am going down fast. I kept saying, I'm spiraling. So I took these things, I think almost all of them that I got in my notes. Yeah, I did. I took all of these things along with herbal teas, and it stopped. All right. Thing one was vitamin C, as we talked about before. Zinc, specifically zinc lozenges if you have them. I did not. I took mine in pill form. Elderberry. I did not do this one. Herbal steam and salt water gargles. Got all choked up on that one. Did not do that one. But those things will thin the mucus again and get it flushed out. Quercetin and bromelain. I didn't talk about bromelain specifically, but these both act as anti-inflammatory and zinc ionophores. Y'all are probably just dying at how many things I've butchered today. Forgive me. I'm trying to talk fast because this episode I knew was going to be so long. So I'm getting my words all mixed up. Thank you for bearing with me and listening. And then finally, vitamin D. I took a big dose of vitamin D because I knew that is so important to immunity. Oh, that's not finally. I'm sorry. One more thing. NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine. We didn't talk about that before because that's not really necessarily a preventative thing. This is a treatment thing. It is a powerful antioxidant that protects the lungs and other organs from damage. And it also may reduce symptom severity. And so you can take up to 500 milligrams a day of that. And that, in combination with the things like the vitamin C and the zinc, are going to get everything into the cells where they need to go so that your body can fight off what you've got going on. Now, one of the coolest things that I have seen work in my family that is completely from nature, an herbal treatment that is free for most people, at least if you've seen this stuff around anywhere. If you've ever been out walking and you've ever seen that plant, that the leaves are long and broad and they're furry looking, and they almost feel, just they feel soft and like fuzzy. Now, obviously, you need to do some confirmation and have somebody that knows what they're looking at with you. You can't just take it from those words that I just gave you, but you can look it up online and do some research. That leaf is called mullein. And mullein is an excellent, excellent treatment for respiratory problems. And mullein is what made my son better Not this time, but the last time a year or so ago when he had a respiratory thing going on. All you need to do is make a mullein infusion. This is a great tea. It's very tasty. Kids will drink it, and it is a great treatment for those first 24 to 48 hours when these symptoms first set in. So all you need is 1 to 2 tablespoons of dried mullein or 1 to 2 leaves if it's fresh mullein. Also, if it's in the summertime when or summer into late fall when the blooms, the flowers are present, those help as well. They won't necessarily be present this time of year, but if you collect them and dry them, you could have them available at this time of year. But you take that, you put it in a cup of boiling water, you steep it for about 10 to 15 minutes and then strain it and add a little honey, a little lemon, and it tastes so good and it will knock out those respiratory illnesses. All right, so let's talk about finally working with your symptoms instead of against them. When that fever pops, remember that increases your immune system response. It increases white blood cell activity. It slows the viral replication. So just hydrate and rest and monitor your kids. Like, they shouldn't be getting lethargic or floppy or anything like that. If they get to that point, yes, you need treatment. But up until that point, support them, keep them hydrated, keep them nourished, and let them rest. Don't automatically run off into taking medications that are only going to undermine this beautiful immune system that God gave us. They should only be used in a very few specific situations because of the way that they undermine your immunity. Remember that a cough is beneficial, especially a productive cough, meaning you're coughing things up because it's clearing the airway. And some natural support for coughs is honey and lemon, tea, these herbal teas, marshmallow root, if you can find a supplement or a tea that has that in it, steam inhalation, humidifiers, and chest rubs that have eucalyptus in them. Congestion is a big problem with these things. So natural support for that, again, is the sinus rinses, the neti pots, things like that. Warm compresses, diffusing essential oils like peppermint or eucalyptus, and everything but babies. You don't want to do either this one or the last one on babies because of the eucalyptus. And then again, supporting hydration and making sure you're getting plenty of electrolytes. When do you need to seek medical care? If you have difficulty breathing, signs of dehydration, you or your child are not able to keep yourself hydrated, a persistently very high fever that doesn't seem to be breaking, and that's for several different reasons, but one, because it will contribute to that dehydration because you're losing fluids in ways that you really don't realize it when the fever is that high all the time. Severe lethargy or confusion, symptoms lasting longer than expected, or infants under 3 months with a fever. These things that I talked about today are mainly for older kids and for adults, not so much for infants. That's a whole different ballgame, and I didn't address it here. So I guess I should have said that early. Hopefully you're still here and listening and realize that this is not for your newborn babies, okay? Just remember, your immune system is not an accident. It is purposeful. God made it to work and to make you get better. So illness, it's no fun, but it's usually not a threat. And usually it just takes some time for your body to do what it needs to do to get you better. He has put into your body the things you need to heal. It doesn't mean we're never going to get sick, but it means that he equipped our bodies with healing mechanisms. And when we feed our bodies well and we nourish our bodies well day to day, our sicknesses will be minimal. They won't last nearly as long and will get better a lot faster. Remember that caring for your body is stewardship. This is we only have one body, right? He only gave us one body for our time here on earth. So we need to steward that body well, feed that body well, take care of that body well. I hope all this information, I know it's so much, has given you lots of tools to have in your toolbox for when sickness may come around and to prevent sickness from coming around. This content, what we just talked about here, is the heart of what's going to be going on in Verity Village, because this is just one little piece of what's being shared there. So I am day by day building that up. Go get on the wait list because you're going to want to be there. Cold and flu is just one of the things that we deal with, right? There's lots of other things that come along, and all of those things are going to be addressed there so that you will have tools to know what to do when sickness comes from a Christian perspective. And you'll also have the support and the camaraderie of so many other women. So go sign up for that today. https://www.morriswellnessservices.com/village waiting. And I'll see you back here next week.